Consistent self-improvement, everybody. You are now listening to American gypC Podcast. I am your host, Classic, and I'm here with my co-host,
gypC.
And we are here with our other co-host,
Merc.
And today is a beautiful day.
Agreed.
Weather check is about 76 degrees. We just came off a walk. Felt pretty nice. California weather.
LA. I love LA.
We have time change coming up tomorrow, so that lets you know what today is. And I had no idea that time change was tomorrow until we talked to our guest from earlier on the podcast. So, time change. Let's talk a little bit about time change. Why is the time changing?
I don't know. I didn't even know time did change until I moved to the U.S.
Does it change?
Well, no, officially
right.
in the books or wherever they're doing their official time.
Right.
But I found out recently that Arizona and Hawaii don't really change their time. And which is weird. It's like, why are we all still following it, even after we know it's more of a corporate thing?
So, just to be clear, tomorrow time springs ahead. Isn't it spring forward, and then fall back?
I don't know. Just wait for my phone to tell me what time it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
which is quite a mystery still. It's one of those questions, that you put in the bucket with all the other weird questions that we ask about what we learned when we were young and why do we do what we do. And, it's quite the, rabbit hole of why does time change in America?
Does it change in America?
Right.
Because my mom does not change her clock.
That got to be weird.
Sometimes it is.
Because you have to set your mind to know that.
But yeah, I mean, I guess from the retirement perspective, she's on her own time.
Okay.
I guess so.
Yeah, so it's like, I mean, unless you really just have to be somewhere, then her phone, like you were saying, your phone is going to tell you.
Yeah.
But other than that, as far as like in the house or something like that, I was over at her house not too long ago. I'm like, why does it say this time? It says an hour ahead. It's like, no, it's not. That's the right time.
It's like, how do you know which time is the right time and which time is the wrong time? So would it be the spring forward time is the right time?
That's the same as we don't actually know what date it is because it's the
so I
calendar
guess it's the same time that everybody else is on.
That's exactly, well, I mean, I don't know about that, but what both of you said just makes me think of even another step forward as far as things that this culture does in the U.S. that other cultures don't. So like, okay, whatever this is called, daylight savings time, whatever that still means. But like, what are a couple of other things that when you first came here, you were like, what is going on? This is different. We didn't do this. Outside of like Halloween and, holidays, like I think that's regular.
She got to learn a whole new culture.
What do you mean?
As far as with you coming in from to Minnesota on things that they probably even did in the school system that it's not done over in Ethiopia.
Yeah, I mean
because that's where it started.
What school?
No, I'm saying time change and all of that stuff when they start to educate you.
That is when you start to think
be
about
indoctrinated.
Yeah. I'm trying to think
or socialized.
What was different besides like lifestyle and responsibilities and things like that. What is
just even like
I mean
the Pledge of Allegiance.
That's something.
Yeah. I wasn't with that when I was a kid.
Right.
Like when they stood up to do the Pledge of Allegiance or what other thing that they do. I wasn't. But I did have to do that in Ethiopia, though. That's funny, right? When I was growing up, I went to Indian school.
Okay.
And they made us line up every morning. You start your day. Everyone lines up by grade and by height or something like that. And we sing the Indian national anthem and the Ethiopian one. So that's a random thing as I grew up. At work, I run into Indian people and they're like, "Why do you know our national anthem?" It's like, yeah, I went to Indian school.
Right.
But yeah, that's
also
the
one
weird.
of those buckets. It's like, who was just like, okay, we're going to do a national anthem. And then everybody's going to want to do a national anthem for the. It's like, when did national anthems start?
For me, I'm more like, who was the first person to be like, this land belongs to this person? When did we go from like, okay, Earth belongs to everyone to, okay, this little spotted land, and started coming up with maps. Sorry, I went on a different tangent.
There's some jumps in the timeline that's incredible. But that's just, one of the things that I don't know if we got that part as far as who started the, like the national anthems, who wrote them, and things like that.
I don't know.
Don't get me started.
But to answer your original questions, like I can't think of, like lifestyle was different when I moved here to America. Like in Ethiopia, we kind of lived in a certain lifestyle. Like we have help.
Yeah.
And you didn't have to necessarily be wealthy or anything. Just a lot of people have help.
Service.
And then, and when I moved to America, it was like I had to do everything. We got to wash dishes, then we got to wash our clothes and clean the house and the chores and, just a lot of things that you have help with in Ethiopia.
Yeah.
That was
Different
one of them.
culture.
Yeah, and I was so
totally
excited about coming here. Like, all I wanted as a kid was, like, I wanted to go to America. I watched American movies, and I was excited. But when I got here, it was like, oh, I didn't notice that part in the movies, like, where you had a different lifestyle than I did. I just didn't pay attention. I was like, America's looks awesome. I want to go there. I mean, no regrets. I like, coming here.
You're still here with us.
Right. As an adult, I wouldn't say that's by choice. Still waiting to get out, but yeah.
It's funny. It's funny that you talk about an idea that you have about a place based on like cinema versus like real life.
Right, because people do that with Africa too.
All the time. I mean, I know we had talked a little bit about that on one of the previous podcasts, how all you see is, the jungle and wildlife, and you don't really see suburban or urban or even residential or mansions or businesses. It's just all this like shanty town and, whatever. It's from someone else's perspective. But I remember when I first went to the UK, like my first day there, after I had landed and took a taxi to where I was going to live and dropped off everything, I was going to meet some of the other professionals that had come there to practice social work. And so I took a bus. And when I got on the bus, I was just so shocked because it was so many black people. Like it was black people all over as I'm riding the bus. And that is not what you see when you see England. Right. You see like the Queen and the castle and all the British and Cheerio chap and all of this. But it was like walking around my neighborhood.
They don't tell you about Brixton.
Yeah.
Go to Brixton. When you go to England and you have a rude awakening.
Brixton is even changing because of gentrification.
Oh, okay. That was a long time ago.
Right. But to your point, that's a predominantly black area, or black and brown area. And so was the city that I was in, which is Birmingham, or Brum.
Okay.
And so I was just thinking, like, why don't they show us ourselves? Why do they want us to think that we don't exist beyond a particular area?
Us, right.
And it's for a reason. It's about, psychology, first of all. But then it keeps us not unified.
Yeah. And there's layers to it.
There's so many layers to it. Like, why is a ticket to go to any part of Africa so super expensive from here? But to go somewhere else is a little bit more affordable.
Yeah.
And it could be a further distance.
No, not always.
Or it could be a shorter distance, but it's still...
They have more flights there. That's what they tell you.
Yeah, or you don't have to hop around. Like, you don't have to have this stop, this stop, this stop. You could just go direct. Or even Jackson. This is something that's strange to me. Once upon a time, you could get a nonstop flight from LA to Jackson. You cannot get a nonstop flight now. You have to have a layover.
And also, it's super expensive. Why is it so expensive?
Why is it so expensive to fly to Jackson?
You can fly anywhere. Like flying to Memphis or flying to New Orleans is so
$200 to $300 cheaper.
Yeah. And to Atlanta is
still cheaper. So it's like, okay, so now I'm gonna have to rent a car, and then drive back. Time, another expense. And you just want to get directly to Jackson,
just to make it a little bit harder. And it's when things are that obvious. That's what frustrates me sometimes, because people say things are are equal, or things are we don't have that much equality or racism going on, but you see it like.
Yes, an international airport. It's not even like you can't even make a claim. Well, it's a regional airport, and because it's smaller. No, it's an international airport in the capital city of Mississippi. There's no reason why it should be like this.
Yeah.
Yep. You're looking $350, $450.
Yeah, and don't do it like don't need to go last minute. Yeah. Let's just say you got an emergency, because we're talking about if you plan weeks in advance.
Because that happened to us the other day. Like, our flight got canceled, and they said they don't have any flights out of Memphis. We had to fly to Memphis because it was so ridiculous to fly into Jackson.
Yeah.
But when we got stranded, we're like, let's check tickets from Jackson. And because Memphis, that in particular airline wasn't flying out. And it was ridiculous. It was like
we're gonna drive
$800.
3 hours to Memphis so we can fly out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a better decision.
Like, you can rent a car cheaper to go to Memphis and fly out, or to New Orleans. Right.
So for those of you who are just like, why are they so passionate about this topic? It's just basically this. Jackson, Mississippi is the capital. Okay. Now we're saying that it costs 2 times, maybe 3 times more to fly into the capital city versus going to Memphis, which is like 2.5 hours, or going to New Orleans, which is 2.5 hours in the opposite direction. You can say 3 hours if you drive slow or something like that, but you can really get there in 2.5 hours. So why is that the case? Why is it that if I book a one-way ticket from LA to New Orleans today, it would probably be, let's just say $100, and that's high. But if I book a one-way ticket to Jackson right now, it's going to be like $350 one way. Why? Can somebody please answer this question?
What y'all hide?
Airlines. Y'all got stuff
What's going on? Because then I heard this thing about, once Southwest comes back to the capital city, then the prices will be more affordable, because this is affordable airlines. And ever since Southwest left Jackson, prices haven't been the same. Hey, Southwest, you're back, and you're still more expensive than some of the other airlines that are there. So what are we really talking about?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Going on.
Why don't people want folk to go to Jackson, Mississippi?
Yeah, that's a puzzle.
Are we looking too deep into it? I don't know, but I know because I know I'm biased, and it's something I've been talking about for years.
Yeah. No, it bothers me because I don't know Jackson, Mississippi until recently, and I feel like, and this could be happening in other cities as well, but I feel like they get messed with the most, and like you just see even just witnessing West Jackson versus other parts of Jackson and seeing how on purpose things are being, funneled into certain areas versus certain areas where there's more black and brown people. And it's like, I just feel like it's manipulated the most. That's the word I was looking for. It's manipulated the most out of any other city that I've personally witnessed. And I've been to other cities where it's a lot of black people. There's Atlanta, there's DC, and it's still, they like to mess with Jackson. Yeah. And that's probably because in other cities it's more fragmented people. But in the South, these are people that have been there, that have roots from the beginning of the creation of the city. So it's different than, all the fragmented people in maybe Chicago or other cities that have a lot of black people. So I don't know. It's just, that's why it messes with me a little bit because, I'm not from there, but it's just like I see the injustice and the equality.
Yeah.
And if you're a listener that, can, feel like, this is something that you can educate us on, definitely reach out to us. Please. Reach out to us and let us know, what your opinion is on how certain places are manipulated, such as West Jackson. We're going to say West Jackson because North Jackson is breathing, but West Jackson, we're seeing a lot of oxygen being cut off. So, for our listeners, feel free to reach out.
So. What?
Okay, that takes us into, I think, one of the things that I was speaking to you guys about earlier, as far as revolution and the idea that there has to be some sort of armed resistance, or what people call violence, or what others call rebellion, in order to create change. So, like when we think about what happened here in Watts, with the rebellion in the 60s, or even with the rebellion in the 90s, or most recently, if you think about what happened after George Floyd was murdered, and the response, not just across the nation, but across the world, that sent a ripple effect across the world. And people did get out in the streets, and there were peaceful protests. And then there were other type of reactions, that resulted in a lot of businesses being targeted. So the question was whether things change if you don't act in what may be considered for some a quote unquote violent manner. And I guess this takes us back to Dr. King and the turn the other cheek ideal versus Malcolm X and the self-defense by any means necessary. And what are our thoughts now in 2022 about, I don't know, is it being a pacifist, or is it just saying, I don't think that you need to butt against something, just wait for it to change and it will change? Does waiting change things, or do you have to act?
Good communication can help with a lot of situations. And are we communicating properly about certain things?
Okay, let's break that down. Who is we? And let's take an example of what
we're talking to us as human beings.
Okay.
Are we really communicating?
Give an example.
if you're saying as far as to have some type of change. So even in a Martin Luther King kind of way, we've noticed a bunch of change dealing with a lot of different, you could say, cultures or spiritualities that could be about one person, and this one person gives such a magical energy to where it helps the people change, and then people it's a ripple effect, and it's a certain change without violence.
Mm-hmm.
You can still have a change without it having to get violent. And I think there's probably a thin line between self-defense and violence. I think self-defense is one thing, and violence is a different thing. We come into the terms to say, hey, we're going to meet up here and we're going to be violent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're going to meet up here and we're going to do war. Or you can say, hey, let's communicate and see if we can get some type of change without having to meet up with the whole army.
Okay.
Then you could say that you got a person that say, look, I just want to keep pushing the bar. I'm going to keep pushing my power. So I don't care if it got to be with violence. Whoever's in front of me, I'm gonna change with violence. And that's just a different type of person, period, that, you have that as a whole culture. I want everything, and it's just going to be, if I got to use violence to get that, cool. If I can come and tell you, hey, I want this piece, and we can sit here and talk about it, and I don't have to bring, the violence, then I'm going to make change and there's no violence involved. But if I say, all right, let's talk about this, and then at the end of it, I know regardless, if I don't get my way, there's going to be violence. That's a different energy. And you got those people out there. So, that's from, a lot of different ways. You can run up on the Nation of Islam the wrong way and there will be violence, but they are not about violence.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or there could be violence, but,
yeah,
so
it is a difference between
they don't promote violence
and self-defense. I'm with you on that. You're saying communication is the answer. I'm saying or asking if, and I'll use the issue of police violence. Okay.
Right.
So if Black and brown communities have continuously communicated over centuries that they are being disproportionately impacted by police, not just brutality, but flat out murder. They've gone door to door. They've elected officials from the local level to the state level, Senate, Congress. They sent a president to the White House that looked like them. And yet and still, today, we have unarmed Black and brown people being murdered for no reason, sleeping under the cover, playing a video game, walking down the street. Any non violent action could potentially result in their demise. So that's the issue. So you have one group of people who say, keep communicating. Let's elect this person. Let's write this bill. Let's pray with them. Let's put our children together. All these different initiatives. But then on the other hand, you have people who are saying, no, you know what? Enough is enough. They're not going to feel it till they get popped. They're not going to understand till they're dealing with this pain on a daily basis. And they feel like their self-defense is to react. It's not violence. It's defense.
Yeah. And
so how do you balance that where you say, okay, what more can be communicated?
Understanding communication to a certain degree. And I guess for me personally, like you said, you got those that want to communicate more, and let's pull up a team of people that want to communicate more and see what the success be like. Then you could have that same person be like, all right, I'm tired of communicating. Let me pull up a team of people that's ready to go in here, and we're going to be violent or whatever, or we're going to do this, and see what the success rate is of pulling those people together. Then you could pull together them out of them same two people and say, hey, out of both of us, let's pull together and buy our own apartment building in a country somewhere and create our own city and start our own police and all of that stuff, and we police our own people and see what the success you're going to get there.
So then the answer is not, to me, communication.
Everybody is individual.
The answer is to create spaces where you have the power to create what you want. It's
But
not to continue to communicate to a group of people who they don't care.
Well,
Did they care about Malcolm X? No. Did they care about Martin Luther King? Did they care about JFK? We could go all the way. They killed Jesus. You know, the nicest, loving, most revolutionary, kind person still crucified for being loving, caring, understanding, and giving. So what more could Jesus communicate?
But that's the thing. At this point, like I said, you basically gonna need all of them. We got all of these kind of people there. But like I said, even from my personal point of view, if I was the kind of person to say, all right, I want to create something and start standing up for one of these, whether it's communication, whether it's build our own community, or whether it's let's get some guns and get ready to stand up for whatever it comes with the violence and meet it on. My personal experience is, shoot, I'm starting from scratch right now with a podcast, trying to do a foundation to do something like that. And can I even reach these people as an individual? Can I really build something to make that change? And which change would it make? And which one do I have a more, success rate at for as an individual? Because we still know we're going to need a bunch of different kind of people. We're going to need the car mechanic and we're going to need the doctor. But, as far as when it comes to which one you got the best success rate in, I don't know how to build no army. I'm not even sure what the people fighting in certain armies, what they tell them to really get them gassed up, to motivate them to be ready to fight for this cause. But I could say I could have been zipped up for a bunch of causes right now. As we sit here right now, it's another cause that they could tell you, yo, zip up for this. And it's like, yo, let me try this over here. Yo, anybody want to zip up for this over here? And it's like, no. So a lot of the time, sometimes we have been pushed into where when it comes to our best communicators have been turned into followers, because it's a different type of leadership going on. So, like I said, we need, we have people in different places. We need the David Banners. We need the Killer Mikes and, just the different, we need from their kind all the way to.
Go ahead and say it, the Kanye's. I know you want to say it.
Well, I don't know. I can't say that. I don't know. You
said we need everybody.
I was trying to, there was two artists. I was going to go away from that. I was trying to find them, but I got a little stuck.
Thing under control, though.
I love Brother Ye.
Yeah, me too.
Man.
Shout out to Ye if you're listening. Talk to us about your thoughts on this too, But
he's trying to create a space in like some remote space in Wyoming. I saw the concept of it. It sounded pretty dope.
Yeah, my thing is exactly what you just said. It's going to take more than just one way. And similar to, I think, the point that we made at our very first podcast together, we have to be willing to listen to all sides.
Yeah.
Whether you agree with it or not is not the point. You can't shut off before you hear. And I think for so many people, it's just as soon as I think that you're about to say something that I don't want to hear, immediately I stop listening. I just don't. You look like you're about to tell me something I don't like. Just I'm judging you off of everything before I even hear what you say. Yeah. At least give the person a chance to get their point across. And you might not agree that how they look might be exactly what you thought they were going to say. But then you can't stop right there. You have to figure out, okay, what can take me further? Because I do think that we have more in common than we realize. And there are going to be some people that aren't a part of the change. That's cool too. Right. You don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to be a part of your deal. That's fine. We can agree to disagree, and that's an agreement right there. Yeah. But until we find ways to make consensus, and I think that's the undercurrent of what you're talking about, to continue to find this discussion and this dialogue and this communication where even if I don't get all 5 of my points agreed to, I might get 2. And 2 is better than 0. And we'll meet around those 2 and let the other 3 go. And I can get the other 3 from somebody else. Or I can just work on them with my own community. Right. But, I mean, I just think about Nas and Belly and his character, Sincere. And once upon a time, I probably watched Belly. Like, I don't even want to tell you guys how many times I watched Belly. Ridiculous. It's still one of my favorite movies. Man, how it was shot and everything. It's just great. Soundtrack great. Shout out to Belly, Hype Williams, Nas, DMX, rest in peace. And everybody else that was a part of that project, because there was so many good folk in that movie. But the conversation that Nas and DMX had when he had just escaped a little shooting at the barbershop, and he was talking to DMX about moving to Africa, and him taking his family, and he basically was just saying, I don't feel the need to play a part of the whole movement. As long as I'm taking care of my lady and my seed and doing what's right there, that's going to flourish. But if I don't take care of home, then I can't do the larger piece. And so often I think that's overlooked because everybody wants to do the big picture. But you got to start here. Like you said, you don't know how to get the army together. Right. But you can get your tribe together. And within that tribe, somebody else might know how to do it. You can't do everything, but you can do 1 or 2 things and be really good at those things.
And even to go back to the, the overall crisis of what's going on in the nation, the master plan to, keep everybody divided. It's just layers to it. It's so many layers to the bamboozle of even just, come on, we slide straight out of COVID into, all right, war. Let's go to war. Don't worry about that COVID thing. Like, war. Yeah. War.
What's COVID?
War.
And there's multiple wars.
Guns. Anyway, don't worry about your mask. Leave your mask
Before
at home.
Ukraine and Russia, there was Ethiopia and Eritrea. It's like they just keep it back to back. And it's like, did we really go through a pandemic?
No.
What's people that? Really give a fuck about humanity?
After so much of this, you got to have them people also that's, not with the political thing, that's not with, the celebrity thing, that's just in their own little bubble, and they can look and they can say, hey, I'm noticing a pattern. Mm-hmm. I'm noticing a pattern of negativity. I'm noticing a pattern of something. So let me see if there's a bigger picture to all of this. So make sure you learn how to recognize the bigger picture, the spiritual side of how some things work, even just, earth, energy. Learning energy. It helps you to gauge a lot of the things that they flash on you across the TV.
Yeah, because the bamboozlers are using earth and its energies and its because the movements of,
even to think about it, and it's, like I said, we don't like to bring up too many celebrities things, but I love Dave Chappelle. And, you'll never say it the same. Juicy Smoothie got time, man. His thing was, I got time because I'm black.
I didn't listen to that.
I did see a clip.
I saw a clip, and it
like
just
2 days ago.
The worst name just said, "I got time because I'm black." The only reason I got time is because I'm black, or something like that.
But also after his sentence, the judge gave his sentence. He was like, I'm not suicidal. I just want to say to everybody, he just kept repeating.
Yeah,
I'm
if something happens to me, it wasn't.
If something happens to me, I'm not suicidal. I just want everybody. He just kept repeating it over and over again. Like, the judge, I respect you and your decision or whatever, but I'm not suicidal. He just kept repeating it.
Wow.
I'm like, okay.
Well, I guess, in relation to Epstein and whatever else that's happened, and so many other people that have been killed under mysterious, or maybe not mysterious terms, maybe. Now, I don't know that he is that important, but I don't know. First of all, you got time because your thing wasn't right. I'm sorry. It could have been, if you were going to get, completely away from this thing, you would have had to have some better planning. It was poor planning,
new.
Right?
Yeah.
I could say for the people. Yeah, for the people. Now, that was something that was brand new as well. That was left field for us because we used our natural instinct to kind of gauge the energy. Come on, there's been a lot of things that's happened in the news or in Hollywood, but this in particular thing, even just like Dave Chappelle said, it's like the people was just like, wait, I don't know.
The first thing I said is, having been in Chicago in the winter, there's no way in hell I would be going outside to get Subway. First of all, who wants to eat Subway?
Right.
But
seriously.
Secondly, and I do mean that.
Seriously, don't do that.
No, don't do it to yourself. But also, it's too cold. It was really cold that night. There's no way. And on top of both of those things, let's say you just really like Subway and damn the cold, you're a celebrity, quote unquote. There are people that do those things for you. Right. And all you had to do was call the concierge at the hotel, because it's not like you're staying in the Holiday Inn. And damn all those things, you got people. You from there. You know what I'm saying? Right. So it's not like you couldn't just be like, hey, can you bring me, out of all the things you want back in Chicago, all the good food that's in Chicago, you want Subway? And you just got back home? No. That's like me being back in Jackson and being like, oh, you know what? I don't want Eddie's and Ruby's. I want
crystals.
Yeah.
We both not the
same.
Like, no, I don't. Shout out to Eddie's and Ruby's, the best fried fish. Like, mwah.
Who else brought up Eddie's and Ruby's on the podcast?
Right by Jackson State off of Lynch Street in Valley.
It was one of our podcast guests who brought up Eddie's and Ruby's because she's familiar. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Asha. Right? Because her family is from there.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, but shout out to Asha. She knows good food.
That's one of the things that is like, I look at like, it'll be repeating. It's going to be something that's, that's we're going to deal with on a repeated basis.
What's that?
What?
The race issue.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I got time because I'm black. It's like you said, yeah.
Okay.
You did a crime that we never think.
No. Now a lot of people did get time because they were black. No, you just got time because that was a bad crime.
You might have earned a little something.
Come on, man.
But wish him, peace or just,
health.
Wish him the best.
Yes. And to get that time done quick. And to maybe come and explain to us
please protect him. Right. If he's concerned with that, honestly,
what is
if
it
he's
about?
saying that, yes, protection. Like to send a lot of protection out there for him. Because, like I said, them people though, they had a whole different ball game on why they should be saying why if they're not suicidal going into there. But I don't think this is. I don't think there would be anybody. He saving anybody?
Well, I mean, he has.
Anybody else going
delusions of grandeur in the fact that he lost me when he said he was the closest thing to Tupac right now.
Right.
Yeah, he did after the whole thing that happened with him. He went out and was like, "Yeah, I'm the closest thing to Tupac that."
Yeah, but like I was saying, I don't think nobody
don't
else.
Do that, sir.
Nobody else going to jail off this case. I don't think this stopping him, right?
I'm pretty sure. I mean, maybe he's talking about the money that got messed up because he couldn't be in the series that he was in. But I thought it got canceled already.
Now, if you went in there and got the snitching and ain't get off, now that might make sense. That would be the only thing. If you went to offering information and it ain't do you no good, and now somebody else getting into trouble in the future and you feeling like you're not suicidal, that's the only thing I could think about, because in that other case, it's like other people, like a whole league of people would have been at risk off that case. So is a whole league of people at risk off your case? But,
I don't know the ins and outs. To tell you the truth, I'd actually forgot all about it.
Yeah, me did. Like I said, I saw it and it just made me think about it. But, like I said, all of the distractions that they use, like you said, when it comes dealing with racial stuff. And I was like, would they really try to use this as another
everything is
racial distraction?
It could be, because maybe it has to do, maybe the reason why he's in fear for his life has more to do with the fact that he got off the first time. Or let me not say got off, that he was acquitted the first time. And then there was this conversation around the person who chose not to file the charges. I can't remember that woman's name, but she is like 1 degree away from one of Obama's top aides. Mm-hmm. And that person was consulted because he was a celebrity, so he had the outreach to connect to people and be like, hey, this is this, which they do all the time in Hollywood. People have handlers. People make calls. Yeah. I need you to make this go away. It happens more than you know. Right. But I know that the city of Chicago was angry because they were saying that police had put in all these hours investigating at a certain expense. And so maybe that's his fears around the retaliation of being acquitted and all the money that went into it, or the police that might be upset. But in my opinion, the city of Chicago has a lot of work to do in regards to any sort of investigation tactics, because there's still so many people, specifically young black people, being murdered on a daily basis. So you can't be mad at him. Use that energy to get some of these people off the streets that's killing kids. Because every day there's a child that's murdered in Chicago. That's not hyperbole. That's true. I see it. And I hear it from my friends that are there. And my heart breaks for that city. And it's not the only city where that's happening, but it is really, to me, an emergency that has to be dealt with ASAP.
Because I was wondering what happened, because that whole story went away and then it came back. I thought we were done with that.
So to me, it's a distraction,
right?
Because otherwise, it's the perfect time, right? With no pandemic, war, Jussie Smollett. Like, how does this even get to be at the front of the news cycle?
Because
it was a post. It was, a post that came.
The war between Russia and Ukraine really gonna distract enough black people, right? You need things to
just in case. Let's throw this in.
You gotta throw in different things. All of these things I see them as distractions.
Totally.
Even, I like Kanye, but he's constantly being used as a distraction.
I agree.
Constantly being used as a distraction.
And Men Kim.
Yep.
And well, the entire family really, but them two specifically.
I see all of it, and there's especially when things like Ukraine and Russia, right? Like, people feel like if you're not, speaking about it or speaking out about it, people feel like, oh, you're just being insensitive, or you're not calling it a distraction. You're being
but that's a lot of topics, though.
It's like, it is, though, because they've been at war. Because I know even with Ethiopia and Eritrea, right? They've talked about it. They used it as a distraction just like a month or two ago. But the thing is, that war that they talked about in the news all the time during like 3 months ago is still happening the same way. But they just wanted a different distractions. They know they have to switch it because people lose attention span. So they're like, all right, here's another war. Here's another distraction. And it's not to say that, like, Russia,
and that's why I
Ukraine
say
used
there's
to
layers.
be part of Russia. Like they were all the same. They've been at this for a long time. There's so many layers to the whole thing that's happening that's being censored as well.
Right.
That is not being shown in the mainstream media. So people feel like, you can't say it's a distraction because it's no, I'm seeing a lot of things that are being censored as well. So it's like you got to look at the full picture and know that everything, all of these things are just distractions. It's not to say, and
they actually do touch home with people. We're not saying that it's all just
because they show you some crazy, war footage and all of that stuff.
It touch home with purpose. There are some people who are personally out there and they have family members who are personally out there. Yes, we do.
Recognize that.
Yeah.
We recognize there's horrible things happening and there's bombings and innocent people are being hurt. And we recognize that. But it's still saying, like, if the news wasn't around, like 50 years ago, they didn't know about what's going on across the world. They didn't even know what's going on in the neighboring state. So, like, were we being all insensitive during that time? No, we were just not. We didn't let that rule our day to day. I mean, even at work, people are like sending out, hey, we know this is happening, take the day out or whatever. Like, do some self-care. One of the places that I work at that, they sent out, because they have people all over
from all over the world,
and
right?
some of them might be in Ukraine as well. And I get it. Like,
that's a global workplace where affected, that makes sense.
But we shouldn't be being affected like this, like with the news all the time, bombarded with negative. The world is, if you intake so much of that every day, you're just thinking like the world's gone to shit, and we're just, because you don't see a lot of good news on the news, right?
Well, to your point, I think that first of all, it is a distraction. Yeah, that's just it, and it doesn't mean that it's not happening. It doesn't mean that real people aren't being affected, but it does mean that people's pain is being manipulated in order to distract Americans specifically from what's going on and to create a new boogeyman. Okay? Because just last week, the boogeyman was COVID. And the boogeyman has been COVID for 2 solid years. So how is it that what they're saying, a social ending, this is what I read, in order for a pandemic to end, even if it's not over, you have to have a social ending. So this just tell you about the psychology of how people work.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first part of it to end was get rid of the mask. The second part is having a president say everybody needs to go back to work. But you've been working from home since you first started your job. Yep. So what are you talking about? You work in the White House.
On the front line.
Right. And all your people work at home. But now you want the people who go into work day in and day out to put themselves at risk, even though they've been doing just fine working from home. But you know why they have to go back to work? Because if they go back to work, they buy more gas.
2 hours in traffic.
They're in traffic. They buy more food. Because they have to stop at a fast food spot along the way because they're in traffic. They buy more coffee because they need coffee to be up to get to work.
They're more distracted.
And so it's all like part of, that's why we're using the word distraction. I just wanted to be clear because you're right. It's not that it's not affecting people, but it is a shell game. Keep your eyes on that shell because you don't know what thing is happening. And then they throw Jesse in the middle of it. Because why? That's another way to distract. They throw Kanye in the middle of it because that's another way to distract, and on and on and on, depending what state you live in. You might find other distractions. But the truth is, if there was really a priority placed on human life, then you would be hearing about all the things that are happening across this country. Sure. It's not to say it's nothing happening in other countries, but if we're going to shine a spotlight on murder and corruption and all those other things, there's plenty of stuff happening in America right now where people can be pray for Philadelphia, pray for Chicago, pray for Jackson. Pray, and the list goes on and on and on. And I think that's the point that has to be clear when we're saying these things about distractions. It's not that we're heartless. It's not that we don't love humanity. It's just that there's a clear goal behind what's being put out, for lack of a better word, propaganda.
Yeah. And it's sad that you actually got to look at some of the stuff on, or you look at it and you be like, I wonder if that's real.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it could be reporting on the war. It's like, I wonder if that's real. I wonder if are they staging this, or if it's just, these are questions that you got to ask because of the history of media,
right?
And what's been projected and what they just want you to believe. And that's a sad thing.
It is sad.
Yeah.
But there's a reason why you're asking that question.
As far as,
because it's a history of it having been untrue. You know, it's a history of it being manipulated, and it's a history of news only being bad news. Why do I feel bad after I watch the news?
Yeah.
There's got to be some balance outside of weather and sports. Why is the only news that you report on bad? And then it's like, oh, we have one feel-good story. But you done pumped 90% of bad stuff.
Right.
Yeah. And it's the formula that they've created for, I could say, this culture, because certain places it's a luxury to have internet. It's a luxury to have a phone. It's a luxury to have certain things to even see some of the stuff that's going on. So it's so many layers to the distraction that I really just, I could say I put myself in the build your own platform pool. I can't say that I'm gonna go up or I'm necessarily trying to build a army of people that's willing to stand up for any type of injustices that come from the police. I can't say that I'm that kind of person. I can't say I'm the kind of person that's gonna go, and try to communicate with the president or the lawyer, or to try to become a politician to make a difference supposedly in that way. No. But yes, I will thrive to buy some land, build up something basically that can house up to 150 people to create your own city, and spread that knowledge and repeat. Spread that knowledge and repeat. Spread that knowledge and repeat. Let's figure out one of the things that we can change. If we can't change the police brutality after so long, okay, we're going to deal with that, and we're going to forever be fighting it. Not saying we're going to ever stop fighting, but we're going to forever be fighting it. The political thing, if we can't win with the politicians and it's something that we're always fighting in, we're going to always have to fight it, and we're going to always need people to pursue them, to get into politics, so it just won't completely destroy us either, and hope it don't destroy them as well, because, it'll put some gray hairs on your face and on your head. Politics. I don't know about sports or too many other things, but I've seen politics put gray hairs on people. So, and then, like I said, that group of people that's out there that's just trying to build that whole new world, that whole independent world, that decentralized world, that the whole, future. That's one of the things, and that's looking at that. What's a part of our future? Are we really, really focusing enough at the future? We got our distractions. We know the distractions going to be there, but, as a whole people, even like I said, as a entire people, the layers are there for the distraction, and we recognize them. So eventually, we still going to have to come together the same way, collectively, communicate with each other eventually, and build something brand new on top of the war. On top of the pandemic, we still going to have to build something on top of that hopefully it won't repeat. This whole whatever is, happening now with the gas prices.
Because
we don't want to experience this no more.
These things, I feel like, sum up to the 1% having majority control of
mind control.
Right. But still, also monetarily, just to go back to, you mentioned this whole blockchain and decentralized way of doing things versus that's the whole point, right? Like to eliminate the control of this small group of people that are controlling the societies.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody don't want to change, and that's something that, you know,
but
some
that's
people.
something that doesn't get highlighted. I guess that's what I was trying to say about, you know, people think blockchain and crypto and the whole decentralized ecosystem. I don't think people are understanding it's not just about like creating this digital money and pumping, you know, stuff into it for everyone to make money. It's also about like shifting the power to everyone versus the few, which is how the system is set up. Like it is trying to break the old paradigm of like no one owns, you know, Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like everything that's in this Web3, like people don't really own, you know, it's owned by everyone. And so you can't, like how the Bank of America or, you know, all of these people that are controlling, you get what I'm saying though? Like
I'm following you.
It's breaking. I just wanted to highlight, because you mentioned
Decentralized.
Yeah, and I just wanted to mention, like, while we're talking about this topic, like, that's why people are fighting so hard for this new way. It's not just so they can make money. Like, it is a new paradigm of shifting the wealth and equalizing things in society, whether it's power or money or all of it. So.
Hurt.
And it's like I said, it hurts even more to know that, okay, we make the full shift with cryptocurrency, and it's a good chance you're still going to have bullshit police brutality, and you're going to have bad politicians.
Okay.
Yeah.
It could be. You know what I mean? Like, there's a strong chance that it could be. And also, maybe something cataclysmic will occur that will be the change that we wish to see, and that won't exist. I think it's good that we talk about the bamboozlers and the distractions. Mm-hmm. And I also like that we talk about the alternatives, you know, because I think it can weigh you down, mm-hmm. especially if you're an open person and you care, you know, and you lead with love and you want things to be better. It can seem like, damn, this is a lot that's happening in the world. What can one me do, or what can my little group of people do to really make things better? And so, you know, I want us to continue to also talk about alternatives and coping mechanisms. And I guess that is the therapist in me. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But it's true. Like, I'm just looking around at all of us, and we have crystals of one kind or another, right? And it's not a fidget spinner. Like, it's back to that spirituality piece of bringing yourself back to center. Something that I did the other morning, because I was feeling like it's a lot going on. I had to be at work, but I'm like, I got to make this time. And I also have the luxury of doing this, but I stopped off at the beach. Mm-hmm. And just took my shoes off and planted my feet in the sand.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a grounding exercise. But also it just got me out of that whole, like, it was no more noise. It was just quiet. Looking at the water, feet in the sand. And I think I was there maybe a max of 15 minutes, but I don't even think it was that long. But it was just enough, you know, to make me feel better. So I think and you don't have to live by a beach, you know, like us. You can just go outside to your yard and put your feet on grass. But there's so many other ways that you can make yourself feel better. And it doesn't have to be by mixing a drink. It doesn't have to be, you know, by smoking, or it doesn't have to be by some of those other things that people immediately reach for. Let me get a square. I got to calm down. And I'm not judging if any of those three things are your coping strategies, but like some other stuff that's free is just going outside, walking, talking to your people, listening to music. You know, those are all those things that I look to. Exactly. Meditation, prayer, just turning off the TV, turning off the radio, just being in quiet. It's so nice sometimes just to take in the silence of everything. And I was at a community meeting before I came here. And basically the short version of this is that folks in the area want to clean up the alley because, you know, it's a lot of alleys. And there's people that come through the alley. It's a transient population. You know, there might be drug selling. There might be drug using. It could be any number of things, you know.
Homeless people in the area is still going to always
be and so it's like, let's just say probably about 20, 25 people. And they've created a list of what was the topic? What do you see when you walk through the alley? Or how do you feel? That was what it was. How do you feel? And so they had already started before I got there. So it was, that exercise was already done, but I was reading all the things that people said, afraid, you know, disgusted, you know, like I don't want to live here. It was all these mindsets of, to me, negativity. And I get it. Like, I get that could be what you see when you walk through that alley. But I said, the woman came up to me and she was like, do you want to give your feedback on this? And so I said, yeah, that's fine. I'll put happy. And she was like, do you live over here? I said, yeah, I do. And she was like, well, why would you say happy? And I was like, because I get a chance to walk. I have legs. I have sight. I can see. I was like, you don't live on my alley, but there's beautiful flowers right in front of my door. I get to see that. So I understand how people can also feel these things, but I think we have to challenge ourselves to find the beauty in the things that exist that are right in front of us. Yeah. And she was like, oh, because she did not like that I said happy. You know what I mean? It's like, do you see this alley? Like, well, do you see it? Because like you say, if I've lived here my whole life, I hope that one day LA is able to eradicate this issue and people are able to get housing and health care and all of those things. But the reality is some people don't want that. And just because you want that for them doesn't mean that they're going to want it, nor does it mean that they're not going to cop a squat right outside your house like it's nothing to them. Because you don't own it, you're paying rent. And guess what? They're not paying rent and they want to sit right there. So how can you stop that? I don't have the answer, but in the meantime, you can't let it consume you with this idea that you are going to change it because you're going to be working for a long time.
And you rarely see a pray for Skid Row post.
Oh my gosh, please. You talking about pray for any ... We never see that. And that's huge.
Yeah.
Talk about a distraction. Why you don't promote what the heck is going on down the street from here?
For years.
Right.
And believe it, it was worse than this.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
At one time, that it was worse than this. And you know how bad it is right now.
Because it's actually a functional downtown compared to what they were saying. It was like, this place used to be a ghost town. And there was no reason to even come here.
No. No.
It's like,
there's still people who ran off who still think it's the same way it was 10 years ago. They're like, I'll never go there.
I bet. It's enough to make you feel like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But, you know, there's a lot of people are going to make their decisions. Some people, they just have been so, you know, brainwashed in just the leadership of the media, you know, this is our stamp. This is what we believe in. And, you know, I'm seeing a lot of the things like right now that people are facing that when the pandemic first started, are you going to put this mask on believing that it's going to save you? And when they tell you to take it off, are you going to trust them that it's okay to take off the mask.
Mm-hmm.
And they've basically made the announcement that it's okay to take off the mask.
Mm-hmm.
And people still feel like, no, it's not okay to take off this mask. And that's the same choice that a lot of people are going to make when it comes to a lot of the things that divide us in the world, or that keep mass groups of people divided, whether it's race, whether it's health, it could be gender, yeah, even wealth class. It's just, you come down to people's individual choices sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I kind of go from there when understanding, like, okay, there's a large group of people that, when buying trust, it works a certain way, but they don't trust themselves. So, that's, you got a group of people that trust themselves, and then you have a group of people that don't trust themselves, but they trust in what, the media believes, or what, wherever it comes from, a different place, that certain type of trust. So you got to be able to understand that that's going to be everywhere, even the way people think, how they think, even when it comes all the way down to just like the reality is, you could have the same person that's standing up for, they could be standing up for police brutality, but they also be separated when it comes to gender.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you wonder, it's like, okay, we got to stop kind of, or just being able to, like I said, to see through the bamboozle, see through the layers of distraction. Center yourself in love of some kind, because a lot of, like you said, the spirit of happiness, you got a lot of people that even, they don't want to feel happy. They don't want the rest of the world to feel happy. They want to stay in a state of, and they're cool with that. Well, okay, we're in the pandemic. Good. All right. I feel better when I'm in fear or like this. Or we're at war. Oh, man. Okay, good. We got something going on. There are actually people have nothing to do with it, but they feed off of it,
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, they're going to be there. Those are going to be the ones that it's a lot of them. It's actually more of them than it is people with souls, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. There are more trolls than you could say with people. Because I see trolls as kind of soulless people. And I call them trolls more.
You think it's more trolls than people with souls?
Yes.
I think it's more good than it is bad.
There's a strength in good. So you can be one strong person and be stronger than 100 bad people.
Okay.
And that's kind of where our weight is looking now when we're dealing with, your leaders. When you want a leader, you want this leader to be able to have the power of 100 million people, or at least 1,000. It's the people he have with him. So you got like Putin, and you're like, it's the power of Russia.
He or she.
That type of thing.
Right. I see that. I still think there are numerically more good people. And I think what you're saying, the weight of the good is greater than that of the bad.
And about 80% of what's online is trolls.
90.
Fake.
5.
Yeah. Scam likely. Yeah. Scam likely,
Yeah.
And that's the internet.
Mm-hmm.
So, you run those numbers. And then you go through a couple of neighborhoods that's, not yours, or just period. There's some great people out there. Walk past them all the time. A lot of them walking out in LA. But there's a number of trolls out here that get the green light on way too much stuff, to where you're gonna, we're gonna have a lot of spiritual situations that are going to be very earthly, that you're going to have to know how to separate. All right, do I want to stress this moment right now, or do I want to stay focused in this good energy over here? I know I need to care. I want to care about this, and I really even want to make a post but I don't know if I can keep that energy up, because if I make one post, I got to make 3 posts, and I'm gonna need to. I know something else gonna happen, and to where it turns into, all right, I'm a part of, and that's a thin line between caring and not caring. You don't want to come off as if you don't care, but you also want to let them know, yeah, I can't. No. No, I don't even know how to. I was taught about this war. Even if you can look at the war right now, and why would most people just feel like, yo, help Ukraine? Wait, educate me a little bit more on what's going on. What we doing?
Because I said so. People, I mean, it's just it's being a sheep.
I'm in downtown LA. I'm from Mississippi. And it's like, I don't want to seem like I don't care, but it's like, come on, let's be realistic. Educate me on what's going on. You said it's a war. What else? What?
What is that? What is that?
No, it's like every time something comes up, I just wonder, like, there's a budget for everything except for reparation. I'm sorry. Like, it doesn't even have to be like money, but even just
equity, just
equalizing
equity.
The imbalance in equity over the last several hundred years. Like, there's money for
education, there's health.
So we didn't have money for reparation, but then COVID happened, but we had money to send everyone a check.
Oh, speaking of money, shout out to
multiple
Brandon.
Times. And then after that, other things happened. Sorry.
Shout out to Brandon the Truth Vera. He's a fighter, MMA fighter, champion, former champion of champion one. He posts some real stuff on his Instagram. Saw a post that they passed a $1 trillion bill or something like that, and Congress get a 21% raise.
I
think that's recent.
What's his handle?
Brandon the Truth Vera.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was basically showing
Let
that
me follow him real quick.
they supposedly just gave themselves a 21% raise.
A lot of people in Congress have been like saying their piece about why student loans should be student loan debt should be canceled. And there's been so many people that went up in Congress and spoke on that, like gave some real concrete truth of why it should be canceled, but we can't do that. And we can't do reparations, and we can't but we have money to send to everyone. We have money for war.
We can do war though.
To get into other people's war, right? Or to go and do. It just seems like every day there's money to give crack pipes to.
Oh my gosh!
Whatever. There's money for everything except for equalizing one group of people that have been.
Yeah,
it's Atlanta.
That have been,
I just followed
in Atlanta. Shout out to Ace Bain.
I don't know who that is.
No, he was making it seem like this is Omeretta, and we need you to go fight for your country. Said, it's Atlanta. He said. He said, Atlanta is in the United States. No, it's in Atlanta.
Right.
I'll have to see that. I just followed Brandon, and to your point, gypC, it's maddening to me. Literally, I probably have at least 50 to 75 extra gray hairs because of that.
I feel like they do this. They give out free crack pipes and things like that to make African Americans in America really mad.
Yeah,
because it's just to get that.
I know I should resist it. I should resist it. There's something in me that says don't go with it. Don't go with it. But then it's in your face that everybody else.
We have money for everything.
And it's nothing wrong. Everyone should get their due.
But do know this.
It's just that I gotta say this. Why can't we get our due? I want that question to be answered. I want to know. Because it's not because there's not money.
Right.
It's not because it's not evidence that clearly states everything that's happened to us.
Yep.
It's not because we don't have representation. It's not because, you know, there's no reason other than the fact that it's just you.
Yeah.
And you know, it's not you, it's me. Just like in the relationships, it's not you, it's me. It's us.
It was so long ago, though. Forget about it.
Yeah, why are you still worried about it? But then if that's so
It's still
true, then why
happening.
are you still paying out people for things that have happened so long ago?
Right.
But you still aren't paying us out.
Right.
No.
I just want to
used
know
live
that.
in Minnesota.
Stuff that's
All
still happening now,
the
they
native-
paying them out like reparations.
Right.
So, but I could say, even with that though, when those types of things do hit, I could tell you, man, white America is pissed. I could tell you, they just
Pissed
like,
about
Really?
what?
about that way of distraction. And just even if they're even hesitating to feel like, oh, if this what you're gonna do with the tax dollars, I know it's both ways. I could tell you both. I could tell you America is still, the rest of America is still like, I know black people mad about that shit, but I know like,
Yeah, I know plenty of
So,
white people
yeah,
that are mad about it, but
Yeah, I get it, but
Super hot.
also they could and shout out to them. They could be super hot. Join the club
but
because
it's a diss to everybody.
that is a direct slap in the face. Not to me.
Spit.
It's actually
in
a
the face.
loogie. It's not even spit. It's the big thing that you hocked up, right?
Like,
In the face of our ancestors. I think about my grandparents, man. I think about how hard they worked for no money.
man, we are.
You know what I
ancestors
mean?
Now, so
And it's like, how could us, their offspring, still be talking about asking for a little bit? We're not even asking for a whole pie. That's the other piece that's maddening. We're just saying, what about this little piece?
right.
And it's still like, oh, you know what? No, but I'll give you this. Crack pipes. You know,
Right.
no, but we'll give you this.
Do you know how much land there is out there? How much BLM land is out there that they can even hand out land?
That's what I
to
said.
people?
There's so many other
Like,
ways to
the-
do reparations, but
exactly.
people automatically think of a check.
Automatically
Yeah, the money
accept
is
loans
necessary,
by
but
small-
why can't you do equitable, low interest, no interest loans?
Exactly.
Why can't you do free education?
yeah, why not?
Exactly.
You know,
like,
why can't
free
you
college.
casinos? You know,
Everything.
like
Yeah.
casinos, no taxes,
yeah,
and stuff like that.
free or universal health care?
Exactly. Like
It's
just simple
so
things.
many things that you could
Or
do.
start approving loans for black people at the bank more. Like anything.
Mm-hmm. And there are certain cities who have done this. You know, there are a couple of cities within the United States that have started to address the reparation issues. But it shouldn't be that I can count on my hand, 4 cities in this country who are actively engaged
Yeah.
in reparations, when every state in this union, quote unquote union, has benefited from the labor of African enslaved people who came here against their will and provided the economic stability that built this country and is the reason why this country is still the way that it is as far as any sort of economic power. It's because of those people who were forcibly brought here to work for free.
And the ones that were here before the slave masters got here.
On
Those
top
two.
of that,
Yeah.
that
Now,
no one
let's
ever
not
talks
forget
about,
about
and
the-
nobody talks about them who were here free, living on their own, making
Right.
money, being independent. Free people who were taken and put into slavery
Right.
Yeah,
and had
So-
their land taken. And their land still hasn't been given back to their children.
and there's a lot of land out there.
Yeah.
Put
and
that
that's
in
my
mind.
thing. It's
They
so
keep trying to
much
convince
land.
people that there's not enough
Yeah,
land.
like they try to
no,
convince people there's not enough resources.
there's a whole lot of land, and there's a lot of land that's for sale. Yeah. So
OMG.
it's a long, 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 long rabbit hole.
What's
And-
up with you in this rabbit hole today?
Oh man. It's just
It's just a long, long rabbit hole.
we have some amazing guests on our podcast, and we learn a lot from
Yeah.
our podcast. Sometimes it just it equals up, and it's just like, man, all of the stuff that I'm looking forward to learning. I need to go back and learn from them podcasts again. But from knowing how much crypto, or who was the number one, number two crypto holders in the world. These governments. And then from, just the whole pandemic smear, that's been a rabbit hole that is like, it's even just weird to look, just the phase that we're in right now. It feels good to walk into, a place and they can't hassle you about the mask. But I can say, and I'm going to say the name. About a week before they dropped the mask thing, Stizzy was running somebody up out of their place about a mask a week before that. And to see that contrast in, about a mask.
It wasn't about a mask.
The whole thing. So it's like the rabbit hole is deep. The rabbit hole is real deep because, the fears are out there in different ways. Some people are moving on with the rest of life. Some people are still locked in their house, feel like a pandemic is out there killing everybody, and we just don't know about it. A lot of people don't know about them people. Please pray for them people because they ain't seen enough daylight, and they have the same apartment building. I can still see people walking around with gloves on, and, you could tell that they ain't really been out of their apartment. They still living in fear. They ain't had nobody to tell them besides the TV, and the TV is still saying, go get triple boosted, and everybody is still getting something. So that's,
And again, free will, choice. And if that works for them, that works for them. And there's also people who say, I still have family, who's dealing with that. They're in the hospital. I've lost a loved one. So back to our point, we are not saying it's not real. It's not happening to you. But again, I think we're just encouraging people to use your critical thinking skills. And to trust in yourself enough to be able to go out and see what you think or what you feel. And if you feel like it's dangerous, that's your choice. If you feel like you want a mask, that's your choice. If you want to be triple boosted, that's your choice. If you feel like you don't want any of those things, or on the other hand, if you never got on board with it in the first place, and so now you're just like, hey, it never changed. Like my mom, she never changed her clock. You never changed the way you was doing things.
Right.
That works for you too. But you have to be able to look beyond what someone is telling you.
On both sides.
On both sides.
On both sides.
Yeah. You got to have your own discernment.
That's it.
Yes.
That's the key word.
Yep. And that's one of the things we try to promote on this podcast is educating yourself from both sides of, the story or whatever the topic issue, whatever it is, the discussion. Just be educated on both sides and try not to completely, and be able to determine which side makes sense and which side does not make sense. Yeah. And do not force somebody, or do not let somebody force you into believing that, something that just doesn't make sense. From a lot of different ways.
Yeah, I was just going to say earlier, you said, you were saying we should focus on the positive. It's like I think most of our content ends up, mostly on personal development and, staying positive. Even earlier, we were talking about staying positive during grief. And I think sometimes when us three get together, it's like this venting session, which is neat. Which is good, right? But we still try to keep it positive the 99% of the time.
Practice. It's practice. You have to practice keeping things positive.
It is venting, but I think it's because it's a safe space, right? Yeah. We all feel comfortable sharing our thoughts and ideas and feelings because you don't want to keep it in. Whatever it is better out than in. Yeah. And so it's like talk about it and then let it disperse.
Yeah. Because I am one of those people who get affected by the state of let me correct that. I used to get affected by the state of the world, like even since I was a little kid, the way up until I learned how to manage that and, take a little bit more self-care and think about myself so that I'm not always reacting or being influenced, my mood and my day-to-day being influenced by external, forces. But yeah, it's hard when you care about the state of the world. And I know my mom used to always say, like, why do you care? Like, leave the world alone. But I always feel this sense of, I don't know, responsibility. But, that was the old, and I've learned how to manage that. Not to say I don't care about the world. I still do.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, my dad used to always say you wear your heart on your sleeve, and you care so much about everyone and everything. And I think you have to find a balance with everything. It's still, you're gonna still care, but like you said, self-care. Because if you're not good, it doesn't matter what's going on in the world, and that goes to work too. Like having a work-life balance, you have to be able to do that across the board. Because if you don't take care of yourself, even if you have caretakers around you, obviously you guys are a couple, and so you look out for each other, but you still have to take care of yourself while you're caring for your partner.
Right.
Yeah. You guys want to hear good news that I heard
yes,
this week, right?
Let's hear it.
Well, I hope I don't butcher the name, but shout out to Miracle Izuchukwu. That's a very hard name. Sounds Nigerian, but she's a 24-year-old that made history as the youngest Black female pilot for a commercial airline. And there's only like 1% Black female pilots out there in the commercial world, and she's
congratulations. That's a big up.
Big up yourself, Miracle.
Big ups.
Yeah, I think she got locks as well.
That's good news.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, it came up on my feed the other day, and I'm like, I like that, because I remember when I took flight lessons, like the guy who was teaching me was like so like happy that a Black female is flying. They're like, there's not enough of you out there, and you should keep going. But I'm like, I'm just doing this as a hobby right now. I don't plan to be a commercial pilot, not to kill your dreams, but but it was kind of cool to see like a 24-year-old, and that's awesome.
That's cool.
Good news.
Do you follow? Is that on the IG page, like Black Aviators or something like that?
It was like, I don't know. I don't even know if it was an account that I follow. Okay. It was like once you scroll, it would be like suggested from a person that I didn't follow.
It's I follow one account. It's not Black people in flight, but it's something like that, and they post like people who are doing just that. Yeah, So that's great.
Yeah.
Well, before we get to close it out, I'd like to say thank you to all our listeners. Hope you enjoyed the conversation today.
Yeah.
And shout out to all the guests that are taking their time to be on the podcast.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Thanks. I'm glad to be here. And I guess since we're doing shout outs, let me do some shout outs. I want to shout out all of the March birthdays.
Hey.
Okay. We have one in-house March birthday. In case you don't know, that's the guy. Right.
By the time this come out, my birthday would be in the past.
So shout out to you. Shout out to my granddaddy, who would have been 98. China, Camille, TJ, Jean. I'm so surrounded by Pisces. Evan.
Happy birthday to my cousins.
Oh, my gosh. There's so many Pisces. And I know, CJ, I can't forget you. It's like so many. It's ridiculous. So, yeah, to all you Pisces, shout out to you on your special month. Because, I celebrate the whole month for Virgos, but that's neither here nor there. It'll be our time soon. I also wanted to shout out the maker of this shirt, Sultan. It says, Inshallah, for those of you who know what that means. And for those of you who don't, just basically means God willing. So, shout out to Sultan. His clothing line is Noble Republic. He can be found on IG. I think his handle is Sultan Holiday with an E. And I feel like it was one more shout out. Oh yeah, you talked about happiness being a choice. I think that was you earlier. The book alert is called Happiness is a Choice. It's a small little book, but it's a great book. And it just talks about that. You have to choose happiness.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to shout out that author who I don't remember, but that's a great book. And it's a small, simple read. And I feel like that's about it. Even though, oh yeah. My cousin just released another book. Jason Washington Handle, Pushing Healthy Lifestyles out. That's on IG. It's a children's book, so if you got children, shout out for that. That's just helping them learn how to prioritize health and fitness. And I think I'm going to stop there because I got so much good news. So, yeah, I just shout out to me because, I think you have to big up yourself, too. Yeah. So, I love me. I think I'm pretty awesome. And you guys are pretty great too. You know, I'm happy to be back here. It's been a minute. This is my first time since March, right? So in March. So shout out to all the women, like you said, as Women's Month. Shout out to Key Fit Boutique on Instagram doing her thing. We just have so many amazing people. I think we definitely need to continue to do what you guys are doing, which is focus on all of the amazing human beings. And you have done a great job of spotlighting and highlighting folks that I don't think if they were on your show, I would know about them. You know what I mean? It's just like, because it's so much. Yeah. Like, I still haven't got a chance to listen to every single podcast. Even the ones that I'm on. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like, I know I was there, but, you know.
Right. Trust me.
It's so many good guests.
Yeah.
You know, so keep that up.
Appreciate it. We definitely will. And again, thank you to our guests, all of them. Yeah. Once again, thank you to our listeners, supporters. Donations are, accepted, and we appreciate, the help, all the support that we can get.
Yeah, you can go to AmericanGypC.com and you can find all our episode audios, videos, classics music. There's a playlist there. Links to luamlee.com where you can find consistent self-improvement merch.
T-shirts.
And
that's about it for now.
That's it.
That's it.
I'm trying to,
happy
link
spring.
To donate. There is links on the website for donation, or if you want to join our Patreon memberships.
Yes.
I like that.
So thank you again to everyone. Happy spring and consistent self-improvement to everybody.
All right.
Peace.
Peace, guys.
Peace.